Thomas James Walker's earliest memories are those of fire and his parents screaming for him to wake up and get out of the house before a firebomb detonates. And Thomas's parents were able to save him, but at the cost of their own life that night. But one thing from that night that has haunted Thomas ever since is the shadowy figure he saw stalking away from their house, wondering if it was real or if it had been his imagination. As Thomas stood there alone and scared, a neighbor came and carried him to his aunt and uncle who took care of him ever since. Thomas lived in the same Native American reservation where his old home was burned down. He spent a lot of his time running around in the woods pretending to be a great warrior. Then one day, the same neighbor who took him in to his aunt and uncle on the day of the fire came to check up on him and finally told him the truth about the night that has haunted Thomas ever since. He told Thomas that the fire that killed his parents wasn't just a freak accident. His parents were murdered by the command of an evil shadow organization known as Dark. His parents were environmental lawyers who helped to protect the Native American reservation they currently stand in named Hawkboro. Dark wanted the reservation for themselves and had Thomas's parents killed. And the neighbor warns Thomas that Dark will one day return, and this time they will kill Thomas and everyone he cares about if he isn't prepared for them. The neighbor offers to train Thomas on how to fight against Dark when they come again, and after some hesitation, Thomas agrees to have his neighbor train him. Later that night, they had the first training session, and the neighbor revealed to Thomas that he was the hero Mayoki the Wolf, a shinobi warrior and the last of the Order of Talon. He explained to Thomas, who was in disbelief at first, that he was a superhero as Thomas didn't believe that superhumans exist, and warned him that Dark is full of superheroes. Mayoki's superpower is that he is immortal and is a skinwalker who is able to take the form of a wolf. Thomas trained with Mayoki for some years until he deemed him fit to become a true member of the Order of Talon, allowing him to design his own suit, and Thomas decided to paint it red, as red is all he can remember when he thinks about the death of his parents, and it reminds him of why he fights and why he must stop Dark at all costs. So Mayoki decides to give Thomas the name Red Talon, and for his first mission, he is tasked with infiltrating a dark compound that sits on the edge of the reservation. And Red Talon suits up and heads out, taking down a couple of guards with toxic darts and fighting his way through the others. But when he gets in and checks his security footage, he notices that Dark has another superhuman in prison. And we end this issue with Red Talon making the decision to rescue her, because if she is an enemy of Dark, then she could be a potential ally. And with that, let's put Red Talon issue 1 on our Christian fiction judgment scale. For the story, it's a 3 out of 5 on our judgment scale. It was your standard superhero introduction type of first issue. Some backstory information on who they are and why they are a superhero, mixed in with some events of the first mission and backstory. Well, I just said backstory twice. I did rearrange the entire comic for the sake of my script. I find it hard to script flashbacks into the videos in a way that it actually flows. So instead, I prefer to group all the flashbacks, even though the flashbacks might be page 2, page 5, page 11. I prefer to do it like all of them in one paragraph, cover all the flashbacks, and then cover the modern day. Very few comics I find write flashbacks in a way that is easy for me to cover. But then again, that's just a me thing. That's not a gripe with the comic. That's just my scripting process. But all that aside, I do quite like the concept and look forward to see how it develops. This comic was published in 2018 to my knowledge, and it has evolved a lot based on the promotional material I have seen for it. It was also the shortest in regards to page count in terms of story that we have covered so far on the channel. There were only, I believe, 11 pages of a story in this issue. There was a lot of character info card stuff that you can check out on your own when you get the comic, on all the major characters that were created for the comic at the time. When it comes to artwork and creativity, when comparing comic panel to comic panel versus the comics we covered on the channel thus far, this one clocks in at a 2.5 out of 5. When it comes to theological basis, which refers to how well Christian principles are adapted in a piece of fictional work, it's a 0 out of 0. To my knowledge, Ken Keller, the author of the comic, is a fellow brother in Christ, but I don't think the series features any major theological themes at all. The characters do appear in biblical proportions and within the extended Star-Crossed universe, but unless I see an angel emerging out of a portal with a warning or a Nephilim picking a 1v1 against some superheroes stating that he was a king since the days of Noah, we gladly omit this category as we do with all other comics by professing Christians that don't really feature any Christian themes in it. When it comes to my enjoyment and how likely I am to recommend it is a 2.5 out of 5. Even though it was pretty short and does look amateur of course, it was solid and I am glad to see where the story goes from here. It isn't a top 20, I don't even think it's a top 40 for me, but it is a good start and that's honestly what matters at the end of the day. The small beginnings on a journey to something big. So overall, Red Talon by Ken Keller over at Star-Crossed Comics gets a 2.6 out of 5 from the Xplanations. Let me know what you think of the comic based on what was discussed in the comments below. Do you agree with me or do you have a different take than I do? Link to purchase the comic will be in the description if you enjoyed the video and want to show Ken some love over on his social media platforms. His social media links will be in the description below. If you enjoyed the video, then why not consider leaving a like on it and subscribing for more reviews and coverage of comics made by professing believers. If you enjoyed the video to the point you want to check out another video on the channel, then be sure to click the card at the top right hand corner of your screen to check out our other The Red Talon reviews, or check out this video where Red Talon joined forces with other heroes to put a stop to a resurrected Nephilim who is on a mission to cause chaos throughout the multiverse.